Money management is one of the most important skills a person, especially a woman, can have. But it's often never learned and properly utilized. It's not easy to live a life of frugality, to assess needs versus wants and avoid spending money on things that you don't need. However, it's mandatory if you want to live a life of financial security and freedom. If you aren't a frugal person by nature, don't worry. I wasn't either in the beginning. But if I can change my ways, anyone can. In this episode, I'm sharing 9 frugal habits that anyone can start implementing now to work towards proper money management. Now, before I get into today's episode, I want to answer a City Girl Solutions question that came in. And the question is this: if you could go back 10 years and give yourself advice, what advice would you give? Wow, that is a very good question. And if I could go back 10 years, I would be 25 years old. So I'm 35 now. 10 years ago, I was 25. I would tell myself to keep working hard. It has paid off. And I would tell myself, my younger self, keep doing what you're doing. Keep grinding it out. It will pay off. I would also give the advice of not stressing about things I can't control. I spent a lot of time, especially around that time. That was, when my dad passed away and there was just a lot going on mentally. I stressed a lot about things that I had no control over. I couldn't dictate the outcome, and it caused a lot of anxiety and unnecessary worry. Some of those things are still unknown today. And had I not learned to let go of worrying about things I can't control, I would probably be a mess right now. So I would definitely tell myself that. And the final advice I would give my 25-year-old self is to be as present as possible. Time flies. 10 years went by in the blink of an eye. So just being as present and mindful in every situation, in every interaction, is something that I would tell myself to make sure to prioritize. Great question. And just a reminder, if you have a question that you want me to answer on the podcast, let me know. citygirlsavings.com/QA, and I will answer them on the show. Okay, let's get into the 9 frugal habits to start implementing now. Frugal habit number 1, stop using credit. I know I have probably shared this advice on multiple episodes, but I don't think I'll ever stop. Unless you are paying your credit cards in full every month and not being charged interest, I want you to avoid using credit at all costs. If you have a mortgage, an auto loan, or student loans, do your best to pay them off as quickly as possible and make sure no matter what, you always pay on time. Thanks to interest, using credit for purchases often results in you, me, everyone paying so much more than the original sale price. So no one wants to pay interest, so wherever you can, avoid putting yourself in that position. Frugal habit number 2, pay yourself first. The rule of pay yourself first is a tried and true principle. It's also one of the principles shared in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which I highly recommend anyone who is on their financial freedom journey read. I will link to it in the show notes. Such a game changer. But paying yourself first essentially means that when money comes in, so when you get paid, your income comes in, a portion of it should be saved before any spending takes place. And you can do this a few ways. So once payday comes around, a deposit into your savings should be right behind it. You can have a portion of your paycheck direct deposited into savings, which I recommend. Don't even give yourself the opportunity to see it in your checking account, right? Have it go directly to savings when you get paid. That way you don't have to worry about anything. But if direct deposit isn't an option, you can always set up automatic transfers from your checking to your savings and schedule it or time it for the days you get paid. Not only does this help you get into the habit of saving money consistently, but it ensures that you don't spend all of your money before you get the chance to save it. I highly recommend you leverage a high yield savings account for your savings just because you're going to get the most bang for your buck. You're going to earn more in interest. There are typically no fees or minimum balance requirements. Your money is safe. The goal is not to touch the savings, right? So you may as well put it in a place that will generate the most bang for your buck. Now, some of my personal favorites are Synchrony, Ally, and American Express Bank. Frugal habit number 3, go for quality over quantity. While frugal people don't spend money unnecessarily, they will spend a little more for a quality piece. Here's the thing. You get what you pay for. So buying a cheap bag because of the low price will result in it falling apart a lot quicker than investing in a quality piece. Be willing to shell out more money for quality to ensure it lasts, because buying a cheap product over and over again actually adds up. You end up spending more money when you're intentionally trying to save money. Now, the same applies to spending on services. Going with a cheaper coach may end up costing you more than investing in the right coach with a higher price point. So when it comes to implementing frugal habits, working towards this life of financial freedom, quality over quantity. Frugal habit number 4, track your spending. Now, the great thing about keeping tabs on your spending is that you can control where it goes next. If you see that you are spending way too much money on food, you can cook for a few weeks to recoup your losses. If you have been out and about shopping at TJ Maxx, Marshalls more often than normal, you can avoid those stores in the future. But the thing is this, if you don't track your spending, you won't know where you're overspending. This is why my money coaching program includes a daily spending tracker. When my clients know exactly where their money is going, we can both work together to change those future spending patterns. So get into the habit of keeping tabs on your money so that you can be knowledgeable of where it's actually going. When you know better, you can do better. Frugal habit number 5, stop wasting money. Now you're probably like, duh, Rhea, but let me elaborate. If you have any service, any subscription, any fee or expense that is taking money out of your account every month without you using it, I want you to get rid of it. Frugal people never let money go down the drain. That wasted money could be used to fund your savings, to make more money, or to cover other expenses. I will also add that a big waste of money is unused groceries. Nothing is worse than throwing food away because you never got around to cooking or eating it. Make sure your grocery runs aren't costing you more than they should. Throwing food away is like throwing money down the drain. Frugal habit number 6, do things that don't cost money. Now, having fun doesn't always mean spending money. There are plenty of activities, events, and things you can do solo, with your partner, or with your friends that don't require any cash. To start living frugally, think outside of the box for things you can do. Get resourceful with ideas for activities and break out of the norm. Instead of going out to eat with your friends, host a potluck. Instead of going to the movies, see a play at your local community theater. The more mindful you become about where your money goes, the better you can be at making the most of your spending. I want you to check out episode 83, How to Live Your Best Life This Summer, for some free or low-cost ideas for getting out of the house, and I will make sure to link to it in the show notes. Frugal habit number 7, lead a healthy lifestyle. Going to the gym, avoiding processed foods, and keeping your mind and body active has major benefits, including financial ones, especially in the long term. I understand this is easier said than done, but leading a healthy lifestyle can help you avoid unnecessary doctor's visits, hospital bills, and extra medicine over the long run, which can add up very quickly. Eat clean and exercise. Simple and effective. Plus, who doesn't want to look and feel their very best? And I will acknowledge that there is a luxury tax for eating clean. Healthy food costs more. So instead of looking at it as spending extra money on healthier food, look at it as a way to avoid spending so much more money in the future because you have health issues. Quality over quantity, remember? So if we have to spend a little bit more in the present, but it's going to help us save so much more in the future, that's a smart move. Frugal habit number 8, plan ahead. I recognize this is an easier habit for some than others, like type A personality Rhea, Virgo, loves to plan. Planning ahead can help you save a lot of money. Whether it's planning your next meal, planning your next vacation, or planning your next big purchase, start planning ahead. The earlier you plan out the things you need, the sooner you can start saving for them. Since you shouldn't be using credit for anything, saving and accumulating funds for your purchases is an absolute necessity. Now, if you are not used to this type of process for saving or accumulating funds for things you want, it will be tough in the beginning. But if you can make it a habit to plan ahead for things that are coming up in your life, you can save a lot of money. I often help my clients through this. So I always ask the question, what's coming up in the next month, 2 months, 3 months? Next year, what do we know is coming or we want to come, like a trip or a big purchase? What do we know is coming so that we can start saving for it now? The more you give yourself time to save, the less you actually need to save over that course of time. And what I mean by that is if you give yourself a year to save up $12,000, that is $1,000 a month. But if you only give yourself 3 months to save up $12,000, that's $4,000 a month you have to figure out how to save. So the earlier you can plan, the less you need to save over a longer period of time to have what you need. And final frugal habit to start implementing, learn to curb impulse buys. Are you the type of person who will go out and purchase a tub of ice cream after a breakup? Or can you be found at the mall the minute you get a raise or a bonus? I want you to identify what your spending triggers are and learn to control them. Being self-aware and understanding what causes you to spend money when either you shouldn't or you're emotional, and that emotion can be happy or sad, any emotion. Understanding that can save you a lot of stress and money in the long run. So learn to curb those impulse buys by having that self-awareness and finding other things to get the feeling you're craving. If you spend your money because you're stressed, what other things can you do to help you relieve that stress? Learn to curb those impulse buys so you can truly enjoy life as frugally as you possibly can. If you can start implementing just some of the frugal habits that I shared today, you will see true and lasting change in your money situation in no time. Now, before we wrap, I want to share something with you. You may hear all of these tips and the advice I share across the podcast and have the best intentions of changing your ways. But if you do not take any action, the best intentions don't mean much. Even a tiny, small step in the right direction can translate to bigger steps over time. Please don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to work hard. Your financial security is worth it. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week.